All right, you guys, this is my boy Maxwell here. We're gonna test out some Babyliss tools on him, and I'm gonna start today by putting we're gonna rock with one of the Zuka neck guards. That'll keep him clean, so when he leaves the shop, he won't have a single hair underneath the cape. If you guys want to use my code Eddie, you guys can use my link in the description to save 20% off these Zuka neck guards, but they are really good for keeping the hairs off our clients and keeping them nice and clean. So it just sticks to itself and it'll sit there just like that. So what I've noticed with curly hair is these detachables work really good at getting all these flyaway hairs off and not having to rework myself so much. So that's what we're going to start with today. And if you guys haven't seen the last video I did where I was talking about the best detachable of 2024, I just finished that one up. I'll put that up on the screen and you guys could check that video out as well. But to save you a little bit of trouble, for reasons explained in that video, this one here is my favorite. It is the ZR2 and it just mows through bulk. It just makes everything pretty easy, really. So in his case, we're gonna do like a mid to high skin fade, and then we're gonna line them up. So I got the Silver Bullet, the FX, and we have the all new FX1 series with the removable battery, and we're gonna use that clipper for this haircut. You guys have seen them before on the channel a few times, and we've used a couple of different tools, so I'll be able to give you guys some insight as to whether this tool made my life easier or if it was more difficult. I'm already experiencing one little difficulty with the clipper. It looks like it's not charging with its charging dock. I hope that's not the case. Hopefully the battery just hasn't depleted enough where it's not recognizing that it needs to be charged. That's what I'm kind of hoping is going on. These blades do just such a good job of bringing the wave pattern out and getting all those flyaways down. You've been sleeping over here on the top back of your crown. That thing was sticking up, dog. Been snoozing over here.
I've been taking Benadryl before I go to sleep, man, so I've been getting a good sleep recently.
I guess so. It looks like you didn't move when you went to sleep.
Yeah, man. That's funny.
All right, we'll kick this off with the new FX1 series with the removable battery. I'm gonna start with the clipper all the way closed, and then I'm gonna click it back just one. We'll set in our guideline with this tool. With the curly hair, we definitely gotta keep combing it, making sure that we're getting, you know, our guideline set in where we want it. Motor's pretty quiet, seems to be cutting pretty smooth. I just did a client with some blonde hair right before this, and it worked out pretty good. It seemed to fade pretty good. Everything about it was fairly nice. I expect that to continue here with this curly hair, but this will be another good test for it. His haircut's not easy to do, y'all. It's a difficult fade for sure. Which is kind of why, like, when I'm stepping into new territory with a new machine, like I'm gonna put my guideline in a little softer. This way I know that I'm just not gonna have no trouble. I'm gonna click that the rest of the way down, and I'm gonna go just underneath where I went in my previous step. Checking them in the mirror, making sure that I got my guideline nice and balanced. All right, let's get rid of the bulk off the bottom now. We'll be using the Silver Bullet. This is also an updated machine. It has what they call an N1 motor, 4 hours of runtime, and it comes with a graphite blade. So let's see if we have any issues with his hair. Sometimes really fine hair can snag. I don't have it.
There you go.
I'm gonna switch over to this no knuckles brush. It's just bent, keeps your fingers a little bit away from the brush. Kind of reminds me of a toothbrush. So as I come close to where I ended that previous step, I'm gonna start just using kind of one of the corners and try to sort of soften up any type of guideline. I don't really want to create anything too harsh with his hair, make it harder for me to get out. We don't need that. I almost wanted to go live during your haircut, dog. I thought about it.
It was pretty fun when we were live last time.
Oh yeah, dude. This would be a good time on a Friday to go live too.
Sure, yeah.
Would have worked out perfect with my schedule, but I kind of want the footage because I got to edit it anyway, so.
Sure. Yeah, anytime, bro. Anytime.
It's hard to do both.
Alright.
Drop a comment down below if you guys want me to go live with this haircut. You guys can pick whatever tool you want me to use. I have every tool in the industry. We could do something fun like that. I believe I have went live during your haircut once. It was a while ago though.
Yeah, about a month or two.
Yeah. How does it feel on your skin, the trimmer? Any like?
It feels nice, man.
Like,
even with that, the first one you used was pretty satisfying when you were cutting. It was a smooth cut, and this one's really nice too.
good.
Soft, smooth against my skin.
Oh yeah. Well, I gotta say, like with these graphite blades, they've been pretty hit or miss for me. Almost every time I've used one of their graphite blades, I wound up changing it to the Gold FX blade. I don't know if you guys have experienced that too. Drop it in the comments if you had, just for knowledge sake. But I gotta say, this blade, when I pulled it out, I expected to have that same type of issue, and this blade has been outstanding. Pretty much almost all hair types. My blonde hair client, it did struggle a little bit with some of that vellus hair. I wound up switching back to my main trimmer for that, but I was overall pretty satisfied with how it's been cutting. It's just certain types of vellus hair, certain types of blonde hair. This graphite blade's not going to be great for it. The Gold FX blade would be a better option if you're going with babeless. The one blade from Stylecraft seems to perform really well across pretty much every hair texture. But I mean, nothing's always the same. You know, everybody's going to deal with different clients, different hair types, different, you know, coarse, medium, fine, density. But they got to develop tools around, you know, all kinds of different clients, and it's difficult. All right, the next tool we're going to use is also from Babeless. This is the UV foil. This is the double. I also have the single. This machine, y'all, it feels like a brick in the hand. It is heavy, but it is cutting good. And one of the other things too is it was like a little bit slippery with the type of body it has, so we put the rubber band on it. And with this rubber band on it, it's much better. My hand would cramp when I was using this before just because it was so slippery that I was gripping onto it too much. So this machine definitely performs well. And there's definitely a cost associated with it. I think these ones sell for like $179 or so. I haven't checked it in a while, but I remember when I did the review, it was somewhere in that neighborhood. That's pretty high for a shaver. I mean, when I think about it in terms of like if I was using my Stylecraft Rebel shaver, those are like $75. I could buy almost, what, 3 of them? I could almost buy 4 of them for the cost of one of these. So I know somebody's going to ask in the comments right now. They're going to be like, well, is it worth buying? And I don't know. I mean, you be the judge. You spend $179, you get 1 shaver. Spend $179 and you'd have 4 of the other ones. In terms of performance, they're very close. I think this does beat it in terms of performance a little bit. And features, it has a USB-C charging option and more runtime. But in terms of actual performance, does it beat it? Yeah, a little bit, but not by much. Probably not enough for me to want to spend that money if I had to. These are pretty fast. They feel pretty smooth.
Yeah, these are nice.
So I'm just trying to kind of work this into my trimmer, like right where I ended with that trimmer. I'm just trying to work this out so that I don't have much of a residual line in between the two. I definitely am going to have to fight with this a little bit more right here in the back, I could see. So I'm going to go back to my trimmer for a second. I'm going to touch that now. I kind of like to get ahead of this stuff before it becomes a problem later in the cut. Like right now, I know exactly where I can move this trimmer where it's not going to make mistakes. Like I could see. So I'd rather just take care of it now than wait for later, you know. Right there is pretty good. We'll throw a tiny bit more light on the situation and let's start the blend. So there's a lot of ways that I could start this, and my favorite way to start this would be putting an open taper guideline in. So that's what we're going to do. One of the things I like to do is kind of hold my clipper a little bit on the side like this and kind of flick out and up at it. Now this kind of saves me a little bit of trouble at my top of my guideline. It starts to blend, and as you can see, like it's already starting to kind of blend that area out. So even with the flashlight shape, it's not bad. I can feel it sort of responding back to the bottom of my wrist here. Feels fine. Going through the hair, I'm moving fast too, so like I'm testing this thing a little bit, and it's keeping up. Don't feel like it's pulling or nothing. Good.
Now with all the clippers you've been using, it feels like they're doing exactly what you want them to do.
Good.
Smooth.
So now I'm just going to kind of hold it a little more flat here. Make sure I get my section down to the length I want. Now you could tell right here on this side, like this is like a point, like a checkpoint during the cut where I could tell if I did a good job between my transition area, because that almost looks fully blended out. You know, this looks very close to blended out, and I haven't done anything. Just had to throw on manual focus so I don't have no issues. So I'm going to do the make one, take one. We'll start with it halfway, and I'm going to begin kind of working out the bottom of this guideline just using my corners. This blade so far feels pretty good. It feels much better than the previous Babyliss fade blades. I've never been a big fan of those. They got really hot. This is not even like remotely warm. Like this is handling the heat really well. So whatever, you know, titanium finish, whatever that is, the gold titanium finish, it's working out pretty good. And you guys remember, if you've seen the unboxing for this, like I did do the maintenance. I cleaned off the factory grease. I filled up the oil reservoirs that are inside of this blade. So, you know, some of that stuff is probably definitely coming into play, and it's allowing me to experience a good, smooth operation. We're right in here now. I'm going to close it all the way. We'll see if we can get rid of that bottom line entirely. Very quiet. This N1 motor is nice. Now let me ask you guys another like practical question. The N1 motor is in many of Babyliss's tools, and many of them have 4 hours of runtime opposed to what they advertise for this one. These batteries are supposed to last 2.5 hours. So for the premium price tag you get to swap out all your batteries, is it worth it to you to buy this unit versus just buying one of the other units? If you like the performance of this style of clipper, you can have it. You don't have to have the detachable battery if you don't want to pay for it. You can still have that. So, you know, to me, there's kind of like, yeah, it's cool that this battery is removable, and I could see the reasons why that would be an advantage. Like one day when this battery doesn't work anymore, this unit maybe is still good, and I can just put a new battery in it. Whereas, like, you know, the other side of it is if the battery was inside of it, then we would have to pull it out. I know Tomb 45 had the Eco battery. I've done that to one of these. So, I mean, even if I did have to remove a battery, it's not the end of the world. These are actually pretty easy to work on. And there's companies that support you in that endeavor. So, You know, there's a part of me that almost feels like the removable battery idea is cool, but is it really super practical? Maybe not. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll knock out the very bottom guideline. I'm going to go back to my trimmer. We're just going to make sure that we got that blend looking as blurry as we can make it. I like the way the tools are working, man. The tools are doing everything they're supposed to do, and they're making this job come out pretty easy. Now, I've cut his hair so much, I know this is kind of the easy side. The hard side is the other side. He has a little less hair on the other side, so I'm sure that'll be a little bit more of a challenge than this side has, but this side has really come together the way that I hope. I'm going to start with this 1 1/2 in the open position. And in case some of you guys don't know what guards I'm using, I'm actually using the Dubs from Gamma. I prefer the double magnetic feel. These did come with guards though, so I'll give them credit. And the guards look pretty nice. They didn't look terrible, but they're not magnetic guards, and there's just something about magnetic guards that I like. Now I do have this zero gap, so you can hear it kind of hitting the guard a little bit. That's pretty much normal, depending on the blade type you're using. Some of the Gamma blades are a little bit thinner, and they won't hit the guard as much. Doesn't really matter to me too much. It doesn't hurt anything. So with the 1 1/2, that's blending pretty good into the top. I could also run a 2, and I will there, but we'll get rid of this residual line now. This is going to be a 1. So I'm going to grab the number 1, and I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to open this halfway. That's 2 clicks basically. So there's usually 5 positions on these. Most click lever clippers are going to have 5 detent positions. I love using the clicks, y'all. Drop it in the comments, man, if you know you feel different about it. I've been doing hair for 20-something years, I think 23 years now. And you know, having these clicks, it really helps, man. It helps me stay organized. I kind of know exactly when a step is exhausted and when it's time to move on, and I think it makes me a little faster and definitely a little more organized. So with it halfway open, that seemed to get rid of most of what I was looking at. I'm going to open it all the way, and I'm just going to kind of throw that corner up and in there. We did not use a half guard. I try to avoid it, you know, if I can. I'm going to go all the way closed now. We'll see if we're even going to need a half guard. This side's coming together so nice that it's very possible that we won't even use it. That was great. I love that. So I think I will run the half guard just a little bit. Now a half guard in the open position is actually longer than a number 1 closed. If you guys understand that. If you don't, drop it in the comments. I'll try to explain it better. But so essentially I always start with my guards halfway. So I call it the 2 click and flick. I'll close it 2 clicks. And that's usually gonna hit that length that you're looking for. And the best part is, if it doesn't, you have some movement there. You can open it, you can close it. So once I get down to a little more than halfway, I know it makes more sense to just go into the open taper position, because again, there's enough overlap on the half guard. If you understand that, you'll know that using a half guard closed is pretty much useless. All clippers will cut better without any guards on them, which is why detachables cut so well. So if you know that, you know it's time you can start detailing with just the corner of your blade in the open position, and you'll be able to work out kind of all them little details that you're fighting for. Well, I gotta say, that thing's coming out pretty fresh right there. So I think the last step on this side is I'm gonna take the number 2, open it a little bit, and see if I could build that connection into the top just a little stronger right there. gonna close it all the way. I like that. I like what we got going on there. I'm gonna try to hit a little pass with the grain here, see if that has any effect. We'll switch over to my single foil. If I remember correctly, these were somewhere around like 140, maybe 150. Definitely a very high quality single foil electric shaver. And honestly, it's probably stronger than a lot of the double foils that are on the market. Just an awesome little tool to help you clean up the bottom of your blend. I use this all the time. Not necessarily this one, but I use one all the time. Like I use the one from Stylecraft most of the time. Once again, it's much cheaper, about 50 bucks versus whatever, 130, 140. But yeah, that blend's looking pretty good. I mean, obviously I have a little bit of detailing to do, but let's go to the dark side. Let's go to the hard side. Pretty good. They're so slippery I can't even turn them on. Bailiff's got to do something about this. This is a nice machine, but boy, it's slippery as a bar. So even with gloves on. I will do this side the same way to start with, but we're going to make some changes on the finer side. I'm really making sure I flick out here. I'm just using the tips of the blade. For the most part, I'm kind of doing this here. See, using the tip of the blade is kind of giving me an idea of, you know, what that blend's going to look like. And now I'm going to start rocking the clipper back down until it's riding flat. See, I'm using the clipper manipulation to my advantage, but many of you guys who are struggling are manipulating your clipper without understanding why. So you're making yourself struggle more than you realize because you don't understand what effect it has when you rock it off the head or you hold it on an angle. This is one of the things that I try to teach, you know, to my members. Like, you always, in the beginning, you always really need to be cognizant of how flat you're holding it. If you're not, you know, all of these things are going to cause different outcomes to happen. So one of the changes I'm going to make on this side is I'm going to leave the bottom line alone because I know that's going to be really easy. On the fine side of people's hair, that's usually going to be the easiest part to remove. So we're gonna skip a few steps. I'm going to jump to the 1.5, and I'm going to see what effect this has. In general, when you have less density or finer haired clients, you're going to be able to skip some steps, and you're going to be surprised what winds up happening to the hair. It might wind up blending without you even using a whole step or a whole guard, which is exactly why I skip it. As you can see, this jump from an open taper to a 1 1/2, halfway closed, this doesn't look too bad right here. I mean, now I'm going to close it all the way, see if we can catch any extra residual there. I mean, look at how close to blended that looks. You know, that's one of the reasons why I do this type of stuff. All right. Let's finesse the rest of this connection to the top. Always halfway open. That's how I always start it. Good, that's what we wanted to see right there. So the next step here, we're gonna eliminate this line. I'll save that bottom line for the last part. Number 1, 2 clicks open, 1, 2, always the same. You know, you gotta look at it like whatever you're working on, that's what you gotta do. You gotta departmentalize the haircut into those little sections that you're working on. Some of you guys get overwhelmed. You start thinking about, oh, I gotta do the edge up, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Like, don't think about all that stuff. The only thing you need to worry about is the step that you're on and executing that step until it's done. Open this all the way. We start with it halfway open, but we move it as needed. You know, if I felt like I needed to close it, I'll close it. If I felt like I want it open, I'll open it. I'm pretty pleased with how this clipper is performing. This blade is pretty nice. I mean, one of my favorite blades from Babyliss was always their wedge blade. I think that's a sweet blade. Kind of takes the place of a taper blade a little bit, but maybe even gives you a little bit more ability to cut the harsh lines out. I was kind of worried that this fade blade would be, you know, like the original ones, and it's not. This is a very pleasurable experience to cut with for sure. So now we'll work on this bottom line. I'll start with it halfway, as always. And I'm just going to use this corner. We'll see what this does. So right now I'm on my second haircut with these, by the way. And if I stop and I check this battery, I mean, it keeps reporting it as full. I know that it couldn't possibly be full. I used it for about 20 minutes the first time, and if I look at the camera right now, we've been going at it now for, I don't know, 28 minutes. We've been going at it for 28 minutes on this haircut alone, so I know there's no way that this could be totally full. But I don't know. I've had funny things happen with some of the Babyliss, like Snap FX and stuff, with some of the removable battery stuff before. So maybe once it's completely dead, it'll sort of reset the battery and start reporting the way it should. The other thing that's kind of weird is it's not really reflecting a charge right now. Like when I plug it into the charger, it's not showing it to charge. I'm only hoping that's because it's full, or because it thinks it's full. So let's hope that that's not the case, because I don't have another one of these batteries. So this is going to be a one-time deal if all I got is one battery. Yeah, this side's coming together really nicely, especially in the area that I'm really focused on right here towards the front little section here to here. Really coming together nice. And of course, man, if you guys are Babyliss fans, if you want to give this thing a try, if you want to purchase one, you guys can use my sponsor. This is Williamsport Barber Supply. Use my code Eddie10. You'll save 10% off of this unit, which already off of a pretty great price. Babyliss always sells everything on their website for a little bit more expensive than what you're going to find through the barber supply houses. So if you guys want to try this, feel free to use my code. The link is in the description. Use the code Eddie10 and you'll save 10% off of your purchase. Boy, that looks nice.
You got the magic touch, man.
Yeah, that's sweet, man. This is the least amount of struggle I've had on this left side that I remember. You know, some days you'll come into the shop and you'll do a haircut, it'll go through real smooth, and other days you'll fight with it a little bit more. But I mean, you know, at the end of the day, as long as you make sure that you put out the best quality, time and time again. That's what really matters. That's what keeps people wanting to come back to you. You know, they know you care about them. They know that you'll go the extra mile for them, and that you'll keep up on current trends for them, and you'll be able to execute those haircuts that they come in asking for. I mean, if all I did was provide one haircut and force it on everybody, you know, I'll be like a restaurant that only sells hot dogs. You know what I mean? We can't do that. All right, let's knock out this back part. So whenever I'm filming, I'm always taking a couple of swipes across the back. So usually when I get around to the back, it's partially done. You know, there's some areas to clean up here. So what I'm going to do here in this case is I'm going to just take it from the top down. I'm going to start with that step, that 1 1/2 step. And we're going to rock this across the top here, halfway open, and then I'll begin closing it. Now we'll go to the 1. Some of you guys might be seeing the unconventional hand holding of the clipper. I would never normally hold it like this, but if I hold it the way I want to, I'll be standing straight in front of the camera. So sometimes sacrifices have to be made for, you know, you guys to get the content. It is not easy filming all these haircuts, man. All the people you see filming these haircuts, you have no idea the amount of work that goes into this stuff and making sure that you're getting the angle right. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, you know, I'd think I did such a great haircut, I'd be so proud of it, and then I'd realize like I forgot to take a photo for the thumb, or maybe it was out of focus, or just, you know, a million things can go wrong when you're trying to do everything on your own, for sure. That's looking pretty good. I'll start attacking that bottom line now. And then we got plenty of little detailing steps that we're gonna run through, won't take long, and then we'll do the front edge. He'll be done. We're just about there, really. This is probably the time during your haircut that you really got to exercise some patience, because, you know, kind of like that guy who's running a marathon, you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, you start to see that you're almost done, and you start rushing. So I know that that's the case. I've watched tape on myself cutting haircuts literally hundreds and hundreds of times. I have 674 videos edited and uploaded on YouTube, and I have noticed that when I was making mistakes, it was usually during this time. Everything would be perfect. I was so cool, you know, I was so happy. I was ready to post this beautiful haircut and this great tutorial, and I would notice that I made a mistake right at the end. I would literally go back to the frame that it happened at, and I would think, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, how could I have done that, you know? But we're not perfect, you know, these things happen, and, you know, that's the reality of doing this stuff. And I'd be like, what's that camera pointed at? I look, I'm like, it's pointed at the wall. It's a nice wall. At least there's something to look at on that wall.
See the new plaque up there?
Which one?
The
oh yeah. Yeah.
Sick, man.
Yeah, I got that. That was actually this year in Denver. I can hit a ball far.
Went over 300, didn't you?
Yeah, that one was
Tell me about that.
Was 336.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, the hard part about winning like a long drive it happens on just a random hole. You know, they put out the marker, and it just happens to be that that's the hole that, you know, they're going to do longest drive competition. So you got to have it, but at the same time, like, you got to have it on that hole. You only get usually one try at that. You know, so I knew I had it the moment I hit it, though.
Crushed
I mean, I crushed it, and I knew, and I also knew that if I didn't have it, that somebody else just flat out had me beat. You know, like that was the best I could have possibly hoped to have hit that ball. On that day, it was a little wet, it was a little rainy. In Denver, I could probably drive a ball pretty close to 400 on a good day, but when the conditions have to be perfect for that,
Right.
you know, like a 336-yard drive is still a great drive.
Phenomenal drive, dude.
Yeah.
That's insane. But it made a beautiful sound too.
Oh yeah, it did. Sounds like an avalanche, baby, out there in the Rockies. we was creating the avalanche out there.
Funny.
This spot right here with the clippers was driving me nuts. I knew that I could come back and just use a little bit of shear point texturizing to lay that down. You don't want to overuse this technique either. Like all this stuff is to be used in moderation here. We don't want to overdo these steps, but we can really clean up a blend with the tips of the shears and use them. I'm actually using a pair of Barber Strong shears. You guys can find these on the WB website. I've done a bit of a blind study on these shears. They sent me a whole pile of them. I never looked at the price or nothing, but there was just certain ones that I gravitated towards, and this was one of them. So I actually thought that was kind of like a cool way to do it, where like instead of going through and knowing what the prices were, that might have swayed my opinion of them, just to go through and use them before I looked at that. See my Bills, dog, they fell apart. 4 flat tires.
Seen that, man. 5-5 now, yeah.
4 flats.
I got their defense on fantasy, man.
They're actually still good.
Yeah, man.
They've been holding their opponents to 20.
I might have to switch it up after this week, though. You guys play the Jets this week, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Jets ain't fixing to score too much on us.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about that.
No, yeah. After this week, though, might have to
Yeah.
switch over to Eagles defense or Chiefs or something.
I don't know. You know, the Chiefs defense is pretty good, but I don't know if you're going to get them this late in your fantasy year, unless you're doing like those weekly ones.
No, I have 2 people on my injured reserve list, so I have 2 spots open. So I went up and picked up the Eagles and the Chiefs defense.
Oh, you have them both?
I have them both, man. I have them both.
No shit.
Yeah. Lucked out.
Yeah,
I had to pick Eagles up off waivers.
Really?
Yeah, nobody claimed them.
Damn, bro, who you playing against? A bunch of bums.
I know, man.
The Chiefs defense has been doing good.
Yeah.
Because their offense ain't really
I know,
what's keeping
man.
them in those games. It's the defense.
So aside from Kelsey and Isaiah Pacheco, they don't really have any offensive weapons.
Nah.
You know, they shouldn't have got rid of Tyreek Hill. That was a
They
big
still
mistake.
getting shit done, though.
They are, man. They are getting shit done.
You know what I'm saying? So you look at it, you're like, man, to think about that King's ransom that they'd have had to pay him,
Yeah,
and how they wouldn't even have been able to keep Travis Kelce. They couldn't keep them both.
that's true.
And when you got a player like that that's just that high value,
Somebody's got to take a pay cut.
somebody's got to go, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
All right, let's see how this silver bullet does with the lineup. We're just about there, y'all. We'll start in the middle. Cutting nice. when it comes to this, if you guys haven't seen the video Edge Up from Scratch, where I kind of show you guys all kinds of different little edge up tips and techniques, you'll know that I'm using my middle finger, and I'm using that to balance on his scalp. So no, I'm not flipping you off, at least not all of you. But yeah, we're gonna use that to kind of square this off. You can see the middle finger. You guys always pay attention to the haircut itself, but sometimes you gotta look at the stuff that the barbers are doing around the haircut that make it come out consistently. Like all the different ways that we're holding it, the different ways that we're balancing it. And like this little hold right here makes it very easy for me to slide that into position. Maybe turn your head a little bit so hopefully I can keep the cameras where they are. I like this hold a lot. This is like my pencil grip. When I'm filming, I don't want to walk in front of the camera, so usually I'll do this, but I'll do this a lot of times anyways. Like on days where I feel unsteady, this is probably the most accurate grip that you could give yourself. Because if you notice, like I'm able to balance my hand, my whole palm, and kind of just use it like a pencil. All right, now I'm going by feel here to tell if it's straight. I can't be 100% certain, so I got to spin them towards the mirror real quick to check on that. I can see that I got a couple little spots here on this side. Trimmers are doing a damn good job though. They're really picking up those little hairs easy and making this job easy. All right, y'all, that's good. Let's hit them with the razor. All right, I got my little Turkish razor here. Once again, using that middle finger again. There's not a lot to clean up on the edges here because I didn't get into his hairline very much at all. I just try to do it as minimally as possible. That's why some of y'all shade throwers in the comments be like, oh, you know, it's not perfectly straight, this and that. Well, I mean, if you take some people back far enough to make it perfectly straight so you could be satisfied with yourself, like that's all well and good. But when that grows back 2 days later, you're going to look like an idiot and so is the client. So I always keep that in mind. Like I try to keep the grow back in mind. Like if I go cutting into his hairline a whole bunch, in a couple of days he's going to look like I cut into his hairline a whole bunch. And I don't want that. I want him looking as fresh as possible until he comes back. If you got clients that are not getting a haircut regularly, like let's say you got a client comes in once every 2 months, should you do a lineup across the front of his hairline? Probably not. Because what's going to happen? In 2-3 days, it's going to start to look rough, and you know, after a while, he's just going to be looking rough. It's not going to look good. So this is not for everybody, you know. You got to think of that stuff through. Like when you talk to a client and you say, hey, listen, like how regular are you planning on coming? Now, if they're going to come in every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, sure, you can line them up because they're going to maintain that. These new Ghost razors are sick, man. I'll leave a link in the description. These are like the best razors ever. I've been experimenting a lot with different razor brands, and I got to say, man, these are good. Everybody in the shop knows it too, man. I gave some to everybody in the shop, and everybody was like, whoa, those razors are sharp. All right, so now we'll try to cut down some of these flyaways real quick. Like I said, my goal is to send them out looking as good as possible, and I want it to last as long as possible. So I typically do this real quick. It doesn't take much. But if you got any little hairs sticking out that maybe the clipper didn't cut, you can of course run the clipper over top of it again if you want. But I've already put some mousse in here, so I don't really want to do that. So I'd rather just cut what's not gonna look right. All right, y'all, I'm kind of experimenting with some pomade. I'm just going to use this to get them flyaways to lay down a little better. Just a tiny bit, really. Not anything crazy, not much. I'm just going to lightly run it across the top. What that'll do is that'll get the rest of it kind of going with the flow, laying down. Looks better already. Oh, dominoes. All right, this stuff is the Tintation. Very good stuff, very easy to use. And I'll just hold it out a little further away. I want this to look natural. I don't want this to look like I did it. The only people who should know I did it are me and him. You know, if I use this stuff, there's other stuff that's a little more permanent than this that'll last a couple more days. But this gives you a nice look. It gives you an idea if the client likes the enhancements or not, too. In fact, I'm gonna have you just tip your head this way. I'm not standing in front of everything.
Gotcha.
I had a subscriber the other day asking me, like, do I tend to round the edge or do I try to keep it straight? And the answer is, you do whatever you got to do to keep as much hairline as possible. Some people's hairlines are naturally going to be a little more round. Some people are going to have a better profile for you to make it straight. So my goal is just to never take too much. That's my plan. And when you do have to take some, it's best that you just take a little bit at a time to, you know, see what effect, see if you can get away with it or not. That's kind of what I did here. And that thing is starting to look really good. So I comb it back out, make sure nothing else is going to stick out. All right, y'all, this is the final look. That's the cut. I hope you like it. I do like the tools. I do think that they were easy to work with. And I think that Silver FX, man, that thing's pretty good trimmer, man. That cleaned them up real nice. So, all right, you guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. This is the YouTube Barber Academy. I'm Mr. Eddie Barber, and I'm out of here.